Greetings and welcome to
YAS Podcast, formerly known as
YAS Podcast.
This is our podcast, all of ours.
A podcast for all sex workers.
In this podcast, we will discuss the ins and outs, ups and downs of our lives and experiences as sex workers. I am your host, Daisy Ducati.
I am your heauxprahs, Gigi Holiday.
I'm your stripper queen from the north, Onyx.
I'm AM Davies, and this is YAS Podcast. Hey there, everyone. Today, your host is AMD. This is YAS Podcast, originally known as YAS Podcast, but we have rebranded, and you should know that by now. But if you don't, well, we have. And here you are listening to YAS Podcast, which is produced by YAS Work, a nonprofit organization. Today, my producer, what's up, Emily? Sit. Hey.
How are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for doing this. Is your first time producing, yeah?
I'm so excited. Add to
I'm
my resume.
excited. Yes. You know, I chose and asked you to do this episode for a very specific reason. Do you know what it is?
You know the reason. I feel like because there's animals involved.
Yes,
Maybe.
absolutely. Yes. So what's your latest animal rescue? Can you tell our audience?
My latest rescue
Yes.
would be probably Kevin. I think it's Kevin, right? The leopard gecko.
Yes. Yes. It sounds
Yeah.
like it. I think that's right.
I think he's my latest. Yeah, I get so many so often. It's hard to
I
keep track. But I
know.
think Kevin is still the latest.
Yes. So for everyone who, like, if you don't know who Emily is yet, Emily is the treasurer of YAS Work. Very exciting stuff. And you also did an episode with us on
I did.
YAS
It was so fun.
Podcast. Yes, I asked you to be on this episode because you rescue animals regularly, and as do I, actually.
Mhm.
Yes. I don't know if our listeners know that I rehab alligators and crocodiles. I don't
So
know if
great.
they really know that. I know.
Probably not.
I
So
know,
great, though.
because I don't talk about it publicly very often, but it is an absolute pleasure to rescue animals. And I used to say back in the day, if I were not a sex worker, I would save animals for the rest of my life. That's what I would do. I'd work with animals. And that's exactly what happened.
Mhm.
But I wasn't like, I'm going to go look for an animal rescue. It just kind of plopped into my lap. What about you?
You
Why do you
manifested it, I feel like.
Exactly. So how did you get into all of it? Did you manifest it too? Or
Same.
it's just-
I think so. I think the animals just find me all the time. Even when
This
I'm
is
like,
true.
I'm at capacity, I can't do anymore. There's always
this
another
is
one.
true.
So,
I do.
and I'm
I
a
do
foster
notice it.
failure. So I go into it thinking that I'm going to foster, and then I don't do the giveaway part.
I
So-
love it. Anyways, moving on to why it matters that you're an animal rescuer is because our guests today, well, we have two guests today. One is an animal rescuer, and the other is the author of her story. So we are going to talk about all of that. We're going to talk about the animal rescue, how they got into it, how this book came to be, and all of the things, and what makes sex workers so amazing is they just love helping and making a difference in the world. And this story is so inspiring. So we're going to get into it. What do you think?
So excited.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So welcome into the room, onto the podcast. Beautiful guests. Today we have with us Scarlett and Elizabeth. Please say hello to our audience.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you so much for being here today. Just some quick questions up at the top. Can you please share with us your pronouns with our audience?
Sure. She and her.
Me as well, she and her. Thank
She
you.
and her. Thank you. And other quick questions. Scarlett, do you identify as a sex worker?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Awesome. And Elizabeth, what about you? Do you identify as a sex worker?
No, but I identify as a sex worker author.
We
And
love
an
that.
advocate.
Yes.
And an advocate. She's an advocate.
And an
Awesome.
advocate. Thank you, Scarlett. Yeah, and an
Yes.
advocate.
Yes, awesome. Well, we do have non-sex workers on the show at times who work adjacently with sex workers, especially in the realm of professional, adventures. And so it doesn't make a difference. We just like the audience to know who
Sure.
they're hearing from. So appreciate you answering that question. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. And so today we're here to talk about your beautiful book, which I had such a pleasure reading your book. It's called Pleasure to Purpose.
Yes.
Yes. And your story, without taking the words out of your mouth too much, is about saving horses, being a sex worker and saving horses. And Scarlett, you're the main character in the story. It's about you. And Elizabeth, you're the author.
Yeah.
Did I get that
Yes.
right?
You got it exactly right.
Yes. So how did this all come to be? Can you share with our audience, how did you two come together? Why? And just a quick synopsis on how this beautiful creation came to.
You want to take that, Scarlett?
Sure. So it was a mutual friend of ours named Darcy. She's a massage therapist for horses, and she was doing massage with my horse then, which is Franco. He's also in the book. And I would tell people that I was a massage therapist because you can't just come out and say, "Hey, I'm a sex worker." So I would say that to people, that you can't say that to a massage therapist because they'll know instantly that you're lying, right? Because,
Right.
so I just told her, "Hey, I'm a dominatrix." And she thought it was cool. And she said, "Oh, I have a friend that's an author and she wants to know your story." And that's when Elizabeth and I met for lunch, and it was, I'd say, 3 hours.
Yeah.
And we just
Wow.
talked, and I pretty much was very honest and told her, how it was to be a sex worker, and laid it all on the table. So
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And what was that experience like for you, Elizabeth?
Well, I didn't know anything about this world. And the reason I wanted to meet Scarlett is because it occurred to me how empathetic she must be for the horses, but also to be a dominatrix and a sex worker. Someone who gives so much of herself, expecting very little in return, has to be someone who has such a big heart and is so empathetic. That's why I had to meet her. So we talked about horses for 2 hours and 20 minutes. And then
Wow.
we moved on to the sex work side of the business. So it just was amazing. And I left that lunch realizing how little I knew and understood, and wondering if I wanted to walk down this path for the next year, or now 2 years that we've been working together.
Yeah. So this was 2 years that since you've met, it's only been 2 years?
Right?
Really?
Scarlett, about?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, maybe a little more, but not much.
I mean, is this just a huge turnaround to have really got to know each other? Because the book is really in depth, and so you must have spent a lot of time together during those 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we met once a week over the phone, and I would have my laptop on my lap, and I literally would just take notes like Schroeder at the piano, and then every once in a while, I'd stop because she'd say something that would just boggle my mind, and we would dive in a little bit. Do you want to talk about that, Scarlett? Like your version of that, us meeting for a year, at least for an hour every week, right?
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I just pretty much just, whatever, I just answered everything honestly. Whatever questions she had, I would just say, and just was open and honest about everything. And, gave her extreme insights into the industry and what it is that sex workers go through, and what what we do, even tips and tricks and stuff like that. So
Yeah. That's awesome. So, Elizabeth, how did writing Scarlett's story change you, and learning about sex work? How did that all change you?
All of my books are about darkness to light, and not that sex work is dark. In some places it is, for sure, but then a lot of other jobs are dark too. But understanding something that quote unquote polite society really doesn't want to hear about. They all perhaps engage in it, but they really don't want to know about it, because to know about it makes the people human. And if the people are human, then they need to figure out how they're going to care, and they don't want to care. So that process changed me dramatically in terms of my understanding of sex work, my support of sex workers, and just their lives in general. It really, now when I talk to people, I go down the road very quickly, and I really don't let them turn away unless they really are just doing one of these, that they don't want to talk about it. You know, if the body language, if the door is cracked open even a little bit, you know, I will talk about it. So that's how it changed me. And Scarlett and I are friends. We still we don't need to talk every week, but we still talk every week.
Sure.
And we have a lot of things in common. We have a lot of things different in our lives, but we have a commonality in empathy and purpose and a strong desire to learn. So I feel honored that she's my friend.
That's awesome.
Me too.
Thank you.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big decision to make, to tell your life story and to open up about sex work and family, which happened in your book. And how was that? Like, did you take that decision lightly based on like what seems like an instant connection with Elizabeth? Like, did it just kind of seem like a no-brainer to you, or was there sort of like a process of thinking and considering before really opening up your whole world to a new person?
I mean, like, the way that I felt about it was that, I mean, a lot of people have a lot of pushback with like sex work, and they have this preconceived notion about it. And that's the standpoint I took was, yep, it's going to happen. There's going to be some preconceived notion. There's going to be like, you know, she's going to think this, and this about me. And I just said to myself, you know what, if I'm just honest and just be myself, you know, hopefully she'll see, you know, the real me and not this, you know, whatever society tells her. Because at one point I was in the same situation when I first started sex work. Because like, it's not like we ever, and I'm sure you know this, like sex workers don't, it's not like a career path, right? It's not like something you just, you know, say, okay, like today I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go become a sex worker. I mean, nobody does that. You do it, most likely you do it out of desperation. And I was looking at being homeless for the second time, and I didn't want to be homeless because the first time I almost died in a car in the middle of winter. So I said to myself, and unfortunately, like, you know, because society keeps telling you, oh, you know, all the clients are going to treat you horribly. You know, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And after my first client, my eyes were kind of opened, and I was like, wow, this is not what society says. This is not like anything that, you know, society's lying to me. So I took that experience and said, okay, if I can rely on society to tell me these lies, you know, there's going to be everybody else in the world that's relying on society to tell them lies about sex workers. So that was the empathy that I took with me when I was talking to Beth about it.
See.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And how did telling your story change you?
I mean, I don't think it's changed me at all. I mean, my story is my story. You know, it will always be my story. It's just, you know, you go through things in life and you survive. And that's what changes you, is the experience. All the experience in your life is what changes you. And it either changes you for the better or the worse. I think, you know, life has changed me for the better. You know, like you learn from your experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. And having your book out there on shelves, and have people reached out to you? Like, have you been hearing from people who your story resonates with? Have you made connections that way? Are people more curious about you and your story since it's come out and since it's been released for sale?
Well, it's kind of funny because my boyfriend, who was actually in the book, named Thomas. And he cannot keep his mouth shut about it. So he's like telling our neighbor about it. In fact, he told our neighbor from the beginning that I was a sex worker. And I'm like, babe, that's really
Oh.
not like something you just like go out and tell people. And then when the book came out, he like gave him a copy of the book. And then my neighbor like kept coming up to me and he's like, hey, like, is this true? Like, does this really happen? Like, did this? And like some of it, like, I mean, because it's not an autobiography. It's a fictional autobiography. So some of it is not like it's not exactly as the timeline goes, like in my life. And some things are like exaggerated and some things are like changed a little bit. So like that's why I had all these questions. So I kind of filled him into the real story. So like
Got it.
he'd asked tons of questions.
Well, that's nice. That feels special to get some of that insider information. I think that's pretty cool, actually. And so as far as when it came to like the publishing journey, were there any challenges that you were up against? Like, did sex work is a sensitive subject for some people, not for us, obviously. But, with the publishing aspect, was there anything that you bumped up against where people said, like, we don't want to do this? Or were there any challenges and or wins, triumphs, anything like that?
Well, we already had a publisher. My previous publisher of my previous 2 books wanted this book very badly.
Okay.
She thought the timing was perfect. It was in the zeitgeist of Honora. The movie had not come out yet when this was born. We didn't even know about that. So she kept saying, this book is going to pop. This book is going to, she really wanted it. So, no, she was very supportive. Van Velzer Press, Trish Lewis, very supportive of the process and was super excited about it from the beginning. The challenge, of course, is always marketing. And that's, I think, part of your question, because how do you get this book out there to people who don't want to hear about it? Like I said, they want to know, but they don't want to know because they're not supposed to want to know. So, so how do you do that? And word of mouth is great. Reaching out to wonderful people like you, Am and Emily, who are kind enough to have us on, is a way to get it out there. But it is a tough book to market because I have 75-year-olds who I thought would not be interested who have read it. Some have read cover to cover. Others said to me, I had to skip through some of the sex scenes because they were too graphic for me, but they loved Scarlett's journey. They loved the arc of her character and how much she had grown and become more confident. And actually, can I touch on that for one quick second? Can I add to something that Scarlett said? She said that she hadn't changed. And I think that from her perspective, obviously, that's true, right? Because that's your opinion. My opinion is when I first started talking with her, she was initially almost defiant. I don't know if you remember this, Scarlett. One of the first things I said to her is, were you nervous about meeting me? And her answer, one of the first things I asked her, and she said, why would I be nervous? You have nothing on me. And that was and I was like,
that was true.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, okay. And that's when I knew that it was going to be a journey and that this was a process. So I think that Scarlett, for obvious reasons, once you read the book, gives her heart so graciously and openly and often gets hurt. That's a fair statement, right?
Yeah, true.
Okay. And so I'm so thrilled that she took a chance on me. But I do think that while we were doing the book, she called me one day, regular phone call every Thursday at 10 a.m. And she's like, guess what? And I said, what? And she said, I have a boyfriend. Well, this is the woman who had said, I will not have a boyfriend. This is not compatible with sex work. And I was like, what? And I said, does he want to be in the book? And she goes, hold on, babe, you want to be in the book? I was like, he's there. And so the book took a left turn. And of course, as is always the case, was so much better because of it. So that happened. And you became, Scarlett, politically active. You had been somewhat active, but she became much more vocal. And I am assuming, I am putting this in your mouth, and shut me down if I'm wrong, because I know you will, because I love you. But that I feel like you're more confident. I feel like you are more willing to put yourself out there because this worked for you. Like it gave you voice. I'm not saying I gave you voice. Telling your story gave you voice.
I do agree. Yeah. And I think that, the journey hasn't ended. I do plan on working with Coyote, Rhode Island to fight for sex worker rights, because I feel if any state, I mean, I know, what is it, Illinois is up for to try to decriminalize.
Yeah.
But after that, I think that because Rhode Island had that loophole for 8 years, I think
Yeah,
that
7 or
they're
8 years.
next to decriminalize hopefully if Illinois decriminalizes, and because we can't go the way of the Nordic model with Maine, because that's
Right.
just horrible. So
Yeah, that's no good.
no,
No.
not at all. And is it the same people that will state about, oh well, we're trying to get rid of sex trafficking and all this stuff, not that one has to do with the other, but sometimes they intersect. I mean, how do you do that if you're making the one person that's going to see it, which is the client, he can't report it? I mean, that's kind of like, it's stupid. There's no, like, how do you
Yeah.
stop it?
Yeah. And straight up sex workers are like, we don't want partial decrim, we want full decrim, and they just don't.
Exactly.
They're not listening. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so that's awesome. We love doing this work, maintaining a platform for sex workers to tell their stories, entertaining and educating the public. If you love our podcast, please consider donating. We are now a 501c3, so your donations would be considered tax deductible. Go to yaswork.org/donate and easily send us some support to help keep this podcast going. That's yaswork.org/donate. Thank you for doing that work in Rhode Island. It's really, really important work. Decriminalization is like top of the list work. So that's awesome. Thank you for doing that. And speaking of your work that you do for others, can you share with us the type of work that you do for horses without giving away too much of the book?
Well, I used to help run a horse rescue. That's actually not in the book. I was the
Okay.
vice president and treasurer. And the woman that was running it, she had gotten cancer, and terminal cancer. And I helped her out for a year when she was unhealthy enough to not, and this is all not part of the book, but so when we got Franco, I had contacted another rescue because there was a horse named Xena. She's actually in the book, and that is her real name. Xena's stallmate passed away. Well, she was put down because of laminitis that was very painful and needed to be put down. Actually, she needed to be put down probably a week before she was. But that wasn't my decision. So and this was after the woman died, and I was helping to manage the rescue. And then, so I contacted another rescue to say, do you have a horse that we can, foster? Because if these two horses don't get along, I don't want to be saddled with a horse when these two horses hate each other. Because the problem with horses is they're like humans. Some people love each other, some people hate each other, some people can tolerate each other. That's just how it is. And they hit it off from right off the bat. But unfortunately, the woman that was really running the rescue, like I said, I was just the vice president and treasurer. I wasn't the president. She thought it would be a great idea for her to get paid off of these horses by giving them having riding lessons. And it's just completely unethical that, these horses should be retired. One of them, which is Franco, was a hospice case. He had testicular cystitis, and we didn't know how long he was going to live, but, he's on hospice. You don't ride a hospice case horse,
Right.
And so the good friend that I had that ran the other rescue, I'm not the type to hold anything back from anybody, especially since it's technically their rescue's horse. It's not ours. And I told her exactly what was going on. And she said, well, you got two choices. Either I can come and get my horse or you can adopt him. So I thought, okay, well, maybe it's a good idea if I adopt him, because then I won't be taking away from the kids that are kind of connected to this horse. And then I can have say over him, so that way she won't give riding lessons and trying to get paid off of him.
Right.
And I got kicked into the rescue anyways. And so I brought him to Rhode Island, and he lived for 6 months after that. But he had the best 6 months of his life, the way he should have been, because he was a standardbred racing horse. And he was used and abused all his life, and he didn't know what it was to be loved. And in fact, when he did learn what it was to be loved, he trembled. I swear, I think this horse almost cried. Because it was so overwhelming for him to finally realize somebody loved him.
And that's in the book. That scene is in the book where
I think I did cry when I read that, because I want to cry right now.
Oh, me too.
I wish I had more time with Franco. I really do. He was the best horse that ever lived. So,
well, Franco is what drew us together in the end, because I had decided I wasn't going to write the book. Yeah. And I called Scarlett. I said, I'd love to meet Franco, because I was going to break the news in person. And I texted her and said, I'd love to meet Franco. And she picked up the phone and called me and said, I had to put him down. And that was our first more than an hour-long phone call. And by the end of the phone call, I was like, we're doing the book. So Franco was a star in the harness racing circuit. He was a star in Scarlett's eyes. And he is literally the catalyst that made this book happen.
Oh my God. What a beautiful creature.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I did a good job. I didn't actually cry, but I really, really wanted to right now. Do you think so? Emily also identifies as a sex worker who's on this call on the podcast with us right now, and you, Scarlett, and I, all three of us are like, we love animals and we are taking care of animals. What do you think? Why do you think that is? What do you think, that sex workers are just more likely to have empathy for animals and humans, like because of the work that we do? Like, are we inherently more like empathetic? Like, what do you think about that? Have you examined that at all?
Well, I think that we are definitely more empathetic because we have to be that way with our clients. Okay. But I mean, honestly, I don't know what your pasts are. I know what my past is, and I'm sure you obviously know what my past is because of the book. But I think it has to do a lot with saving something, because I was never saved. And sorry, don't cry again.
It's okay.
I guess, well, I shouldn't say that. I was saved when things got bad at home and I could escape to a barn and be with horses. Horses were my savior. They will always be my savior, and I'm very grateful for them. And I think of them as a sacred animal, because they, as much as we, I mean, I just mean humans, not we, but humans use and abuse them all the time, and they are so forgiving. You know, it takes a lot for a horse to become this angry animal that goes after humans and tries to kill them. Like it's almost unheard of. Do you know what I mean? And horses, you know, plus they're also like a mirror. They're a mirror to us. Like if you have a bad day and you're angry and you don't want to be around people, guess what? A horse is not going to want to be around you either. And they'll show you. They're very honest. They'll show you who you are. So yeah.
That's really beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Whew. All the feelings. That's what I loved about your book too, is I was angry at times. And I think one of my next question, you'll understand at what points I was angry. And I was, you know, there were times that I was laughing. There were times that I was crying. There were times where I was like waiting to see what was going to happen. So that's a testament to not only your story, Scarlett, but the amazing writing that you did, Elizabeth. It was really I felt all these different things reading it, which is I personally feel like that's what I want to get out of a book. I want to have an experience, and that's how I felt. I got to experience Scarlett's life, and that and how beautiful and challenging and triumphant it is. And yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Thank
Do you
you.
have anything you want to, does that bring up anything for you?
Scarlett.
Oh, for me. I'm sorry. I thought you
Well,
meant Elizabeth.
I actually was asking Elizabeth.
Oh,
yeah,
me.
you're
Oh,
the one
sorry.
who wrote it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was a mess when I would write these scenes. I was an
Yeah.
absolute mess whenever
Okay.
because I'm there. I am
Right.
there when I'm writing
Yeah.
these scenes. The details are all clear to me. And I was a complete disaster. And, but I also knew that at the core of everything was Scarlett's honor, empathy, integrity, honesty. So that drove the dialogue. My favorite line in the book is I won't swear on the podcast, but
But you
when
can. It's okay.
oh, I can. Okay,
Yeah.
so her uncle's like, oh, this prince to come sweep you off your feet, and she says something like, "I'm writing my own fucking fairy tale," because that encompasses everything that is really Scarlett, which is hope, integrity, forthrightness. So that's what drove everything. But yeah, I took so much time. Spoiler alert, but it's not a big spoiler because it's on the back of the book. But I took so much time with Franco's death scene. I think that took me 2 days because everything had to be right. And, Scarlett read every chapter of the book. I would write them and then send them to her in chunks. And she'd say, this is right, tweak this, whatever. So we really were a team. But thank you for the kind words. That means a
of
lot.
course.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. And so, okay, so the times that I was like irritated was this one particular character in the book who was, and it wasn't until I read to the end of the book. So if I say something I'm not supposed to, I don't want to give any spoiler alerts. Just tell me and we'll edit it out, okay? But I didn't find out until the end that this person was an amalgamation of more than one person in your story. And they were so annoying and hideous and did hideous things in the book. And I also got a sense that they were, hugely horphobic. And I was just hoping we could unpack some of those experiences that you had with this character in the book. Again, without giving away too much, but I'm getting that right. Like there definitely was some horphobia happening there.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. You're talking about Serenity.
Yes,
Right.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So she was you talked to this, Scarlett, but she was an amalgamation of a bunch of people, right?
Right. So the rescue, the person that was actually the president, she wasn't per se horphobic. She's just a bad person in general. That's the one that wanted to make money off the horse birds.
Oh no. Okay. Oh gosh. Okay.
But when I went with Franco to Rhode Island, the barn manager of the place, because she was just realizing that I had all this money, and I was like, how are you getting all this money? Like, how are you so rich? Because I paid the board a year in advance. Like, let's put it that way. And I was there all the time, and money was no issue to me, and I had no problem with it. And I guess it was how to explain things. And finally, I came out to tell her what I was. And then when Franco died, when she owed me 6 months of board and wouldn't allow me to have another horse, because that was my whole thing. I always wanted to rescue another one, because the slaughter pipeline is real. And we send horses either to Canada or Mexico to get slaughtered, because unfortunately there are enough homes in America for all the horses that we have.
I'm shocked. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
I'm shocked right now.
So one of the biggest industries that unfortunately breeds a lot is, thoroughbred racing, and standardbred racing is another one. So I believe the last time I looked at the figures, they there is 40,000 thoroughbreds that are born each year, just so one of them can win the Kentucky Derby. So there aren't 40,000 homes each year for those horses. So that's where they end up. And we also have a problem with Bureau of Land Management rounds up wild horses. They've also finally admitted to sending them to slaughter because, our ranchers for cattle and sheep and whatnot, they want that same land that the wild horses are grazing on to graze their cattle, which it's public land. It really should be for the wild horses. But that also is another area where we send those horses to slaughter. Then you have, the owners that, they just want to win a ribbon off a horse. They don't care about the horse in general. And their only value is if they win the blue ribbon, which is first prize. And if they don't, they can't afford the horse, or they sell them, and, eventually the horse might end up at slaughter to an auction and then pass down to slaughter. So that's why I always want to rescue another one, because, if I had all the money in the world, I would make sure we don't send any horses to slaughter. But unfortunately, I have limited means.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, and actually I ended up taking this woman to court for the amount of money she owed me. And she even passed a note, because unfortunately in Rhode Island, you don't automatically go right to a judge for small claims. You have a mediation first. And she passed a note to the mediators explaining that I was a sex worker, because after they read the note, their attitudes changed toward me. So yeah, definitely. Yeah. But that's okay. I made him look bad anyways, because I told them how she lost her disability because she was lying to the government.
And also the tax issue, right, Scarlett?
I'm not sure about because I know the land was owned by her parents.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about taxes per se. I know that she claimed to disability court that she wasn't making any money and she was poor, which she perjured herself in court, which I explained to them. And she actually admitted that in the mediation, that she lost her disability because she perjured herself. So.
Yeah,
I
I think
see.
I changed that to the tax issue in the book.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what that was. See, I'm blurring. It's all blurry.
Sure, I'm sure. Wow, I had no clue of the situation with horses and what they're going through. That's just devastating to hear. But then again, I think that all slaughtering of animals is devastating, which is why I don't eat meat.
Me too, in the same way. Vegetarian.
Yeah. So, wow. Thank you for sharing that, because I think probably a lot of people don't really know that unless you're like specifically looking into that. So in closing, in wrapping up this awesome conversation, what would you like for this book to accomplish for the readers? What do you want them to get out of it? And it could be more than one thing, obviously.
Oh,
but
yeah. I would love there to be less of a stigma for sex workers, because stigma kills. That's what killed. That's why the Gilgo Beach killer was continually killing, because every time, the girls would constantly tell the police, hey, my friend was with this guy. I know his address. I know where he lives. I can give you a description. Oh, no, you're a liar, because you're just a prostitute. So you're a liar. We don't believe you. When they could have stopped him years before he actually got caught. So, that's the biggest thing that I would like to have accomplished.
Okay.
The other thing would be, obviously, which I don't know that, I don't think everyone in America is going to start rescuing a horse. But it would be nice. I know they're expensive animals.
Yeah. Well, I want to help a horse now. Like I've always loved horses, but now I'm like, I'm going to want to help more. Emily, don't get any ideas. I can see your brain working in the background. She's always trying to get me to save more animals.
Well, you could always volunteer at a horse rescue to just get your feet wet and see where that
I
can
would
work.
love to do something like that. I would love
Great
to do
idea.
something like that. And Elizabeth, what about you for that question? What do you want the book to accomplish for its readers?
Well, especially now when it is so easy to divide the world into us and them, whoever they are and whoever we are. The divide is so wide. And first and foremost, we have to identify people as human and that bleed the same and have feelings. As soon as you start to push that away, you may as well go back to 1938, Nazi Germany. It just does, it's all the same thing over and over again.
Yep.
So my goal is that people see Scarlett and all the folks who do work like Scarlett as human first. And they're not desperate. They're not broken. They're not this. They're not that. They are human and feel just the way you feel.
Yeah.
So that's my goal. And when I talk to people, they get it.
Yeah.
And they might look a little differently than what they did before, or even give it thought, because quite frankly, most people haven't. They literally shut down and they won't even have a conversation, which means they're scared. And when we're scared, we create us and them because that's the easy way out. So my goal is that we humanize everybody, but in this case, sex workers, so that they're treated equally.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. How do we tell everyone like exactly where to go, where to find the book, where to find you, Scarlett, and Elizabeth? If we have social medias that we want to share, this is the time to do all of that.
You want to go first, Scarlett?
I don't know. I mean, I do have a
I'll go
Facebook
first.
under Scarlett Pereira, but I mean, I'm out of
There you go.
Boston, so I don't know.
Okay, so you're Scarlett Pereira on Facebook, and you can get the book on Amazon, The Best and Worst Thing That Ever Happened to Books, but actually you can get it more cheaply if you go to my website, which is elizabethsplaineauthor.com. You can find all of my social media there as well. I'm on Twitter, Insta, Facebook. I have a TikTok that I do every day. So
Okay.
all on my website.
Great. And let's say the full title of the book again for our audience so that they can hear that.
Pleasure to Purpose, The True Story of Sex Worker Scarlett Pereira.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. It's been such an honor and a pleasure to get to know you better and to hear some more insider details of this book. And I highly recommend this book to our audience. It was such a great read. It was one of those that, I just kept reading it. I think I read it in about 4 or 5 sessions total. I just kept reading. So it was really great to read. So I definitely highly recommend this to our community and to recommend it to your friends and family too, especially animal lovers, because there's definitely a lot to learn from this book. So just thank you so much for your work, for writing the book and for sharing your story, Scarlett, and for both of you being on the show. It's been such a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And Emily, thanks for your
You're welcome.
production.
Yeah. Well, I almost cried a couple of times.
Same. Same.
Okay. Was it just me? Okay. That was hard to hear that about the horses. That was hard. That made me really sad.
Yeah. I mean, rescuing is hard in every sense of the word, but especially when you're kind of on the front lines, and
Yeah, I'm like, what is wrong with people? What is wrong with people? Seriously. Anyways, I gave you the book to read before
I
this
know.
episode. Did you flip through it at all?
I did. There's actually there is 2 sentences in one chapter that has resonated, and I can't stop thinking about it. Can I read
Oh my
it?
God. Yeah.
Okay.
Say it.
Okay, I'm so excited. So, just 2 sentences. I'm not going to give any context. I don't want to ruin anything. Okay. If you make a decision out of desperation, you're putting yourself on the defense from the start. You must act in order to survive. If you become complacent, you might place yourself in danger. That's it. No more context.
Wow.
Just those 2 sentences.
Yeah,
but I feel like it's just,
no.
there's like so many things that I've thought about. And I'm like, oh, wait, if I do it out of desperation,
Yes,
it's not the way to go
yes.
in.
Yes, I forget about that. Like every time I remember that, I made that decision out of like you shouldn't make decisions out of desperation is when I've already done it. And I'm like, I'm
Right.
supposed to know that.
Right.
Supposed to know
And then
that.
becoming complacent
Yeah.
is just as dangerous, right? Like,
Exactly. Yes, yes. Well, I'm so excited for this episode to hit the airwaves, and I'm so grateful to you for being here with me today, making sure everything went smoothly. You're an awesome producer, awesome teammate.
thank you so much for having me.
So love that. And just to remind everybody of a couple of things, we are now a tax-exempt organization, so we love donations, and now your donations are considered a tax write-off. So there's that. If you want to donate, you can go to yaswork.org/donate. And also the YAS store is always live and ready to take your shopping. So hit that store up. We collaborate with artists. Emily is one of our collabs. Actually, Emily, you are the designer of the Jesus Loves Strippers shirt, which was our bestseller.
Exciting. So many more ideas
so
too. There's more
exciting.
coming. There's so many more coming.
So shopping at the YAS store means profit sharing with a whole bunch of sex workers. So if you're going to shop anywhere, you should shop somewhere where you get your money gets dispersed to different sex worker artists. And that is yasstore.shop, yasstore.shop. And I think that's it. Make sure you like, rate, and subscribe. Do all those things. Follow us on Spotify. Follow us on YouTube. And we will be in your ears next week. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.
YAS Podcast is produced by YAS Work, which is a nonprofit dedicated to educating and entertaining audiences about sex work through media. Learn more about how you can get involved in the podcast and our organization by visiting yaswork.org. That's YASWORK.org.